All right, and that's it. It's time. I am the man you may know as Texas Z from the sweet little town of Perfection. In my full costume, I am here. We're going to have a very singularly focused video for you today. I am joined by, I'm assuming he's dressed as Antifa, but that's just a guess. That's Noob.
I like Antifas. What's Antifa?
An idea.
Al Qaeda.
Which one are you a member of?
I am part of Al Qaeda. The noob sector of Al Qaeda.
You look like
your
it.
own self.
Noob Qaeda.
Well, and then if your beard were bigger, then I'd believe that. But that bigger beard is left to one man and one man only. That is Scott Keebler.
That's right. It is Thursday night. We are getting much closer to my favorite holiday of all holidays. That is Halloween. I have my costume here. Inmate. Arkham Asylum inmate number 012273.
You do look like an inmate.
That may have significance. I don't know. But yes, we do have a very special random night for all of you. We're going to be digging through the series that is Tremors.
Sure. All right.
It is the 30th anniversary of Tremors, and we figured there was a documentary released called Tremors Welcome to Perfection on YouTube, celebrating the 30th anniversary. And they also released a brand new movie, Tremors 7, Shrieker Island?
Shrieker
right?
Island, yes. That was released on Netflix, and then there was a documentary that was released on YouTube for some reason. Not anywhere else. Not YouTube Pay, not YouTube Red, just regular old YouTube. So that's easy to find. And of course, if you have Netflix, you can also find Shrieker Island. Netflix also has the sixth movie, which I'll get to in a minute here. But going through to find the rest of the Tremors series right now, you can rent it on Amazon Prime, but it's not on Hulu or anywhere else. Unfortunately, there was a time that they were all available, which was a glorious time that is no longer.
You really only need the first one. If I'm going to be honest with you.
Which are the bacon ones?
The first one.
The first one.
Just the first one?
And then actually the TV series that happened much later down the road. Not something we're going to talk about.
I don't even think that actually came through. I thought they just did a pilot for it and then it got canceled.
That may have been
bacon?
Yeah, that may have been the case. It just keeps coming up whenever I'm like doing researching and images and stuff, but I don't recall ever seeing it or ever coming around, so I guess that didn't actually happen.
No, I don't think it did. I think they filmed a pilot and Kevin Bacon was involved and then it never saw the light of day.
So this is the knockoff of Dune, right? Is what I'm hearing?
Yes, it's exactly the same as Dune. It
has sandworms
in the future, with people with weird names. No, this is the 1990 American horror comedy film.
This is not horror at all.
Yes, it is.
So
How is this horror?
So it was slated as horror. There is a horror aspect to it where there are creatures that are killing people and they have to escape from said creatures. Z, would you like to just run through the whole thing right now and come back to the first one where we can actually talk about it?
So you want to talk about all the films?
I'm just going to run through everything real quickly. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Tremors universe, this was a very extended universe that went through very many variations. Of course, the very first Tremors with Kevin Bacon, which is one that we'll come back to and talk about in greater detail. And then, of course, there was Tremors 2 Aftershock, which Kevin Bacon never came back, but did bring back Burt Gumner in Mexico.
And
Fred Ward in Mexico, where Tremors evolved into Shriekers, which we do come back to again later. And then, of course, Tremors 3, Back to Perfection, with Michael Gross again as Burt Gumner, where we then discover that the Shriekers have evolved into ass blasters.
Yes.
As if you can't jump the shark any harder, they created ass blasters, which of course made the Shriekers now airborne, which made them that much more dangerous. So then we go over to Tremors 4, The Legends Begin, which they didn't know where to go with it, so they decided to bring it back to the very beginning, to back before the Town of Perfection was called Perfection, when it was called Rejection. And who shows up?
What?
None other than Burt Gumner's great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. I forget the guy's name, but it is Michael Dorn again playing his ancient relative who finds the
Michael
Graboids.
Gross?
Yeah, Michael Gross, who finds the Graboids in Rejection, and then of course defeats said Graboids, and changes the name of the town to Perfection, which we know so well. And then of course we go to Tremors 5, Bloodlines with Jamie Kennedy.
Oh yeah, I remember Jamie Kennedy was in
who
that.
appears as Burt Gumner's long lost son.
Why?
This is one I know little about because I watched it one time many years ago. I do not recall too much about it, but it was definitely the downstroke of the
How many
Tremors series at this
sons
point.
does Michael Gross have in these movies?
Well, because then we go to Tremors 6, A Cold Day in Hell with Jamie Kennedy again, where they find Graboids in the Arctic Circle. Even though in that movie, the only time you see snow is when they're doing a flyover with stock footage, because the rest of the movie is filmed in the desert. Which
now they're ice worms.
Yeah, yes, they're ice worms. They're ancient worms. They were defrozen to show you how old Graboids were. Where Burt Gumner then has to go and fight worms in the ice. And, of course, there's no snow anywhere, so they come up with some theory about not everywhere in the Arctic has snow. So I guess they kind of dodged the bullet on that one. Instead of spending money to go film, they just went to Burt Gumner's backyard. And then, of course, to the latest iteration of Tremors, which is on Netflix right now as well. This is the 7th movie, Shrieker Island, which brings back Burt Gumner yet one more time, with the lady who is the mother of his Jamie Kennedy's son. And God knows what happened in that movie. Z and I both watched that one. I think we'll come back to that later. But let's get back to the reason that we're here in the first place, and
John
that is...
Hader is in it, though. You have to at least acknowledge the John Hader.
John Hader is in it, and I hate him
That's
too.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes, and I can't stand him in this movie. But let's get back to the reason we're here, and that is the very first Tremors with Kevin Bacon.
It was starring Kevin Bacon,
Perfection.
Finn Carter, Michael Gross, Fred Ward, Reba McEntire. Was it? So much bacon. The reason why I wanted to talk about this movie, this is one of those movies that when we get to our top 5, it almost made my top 5.
How? It's not even a horror movie.
It's 100% a horror movie. When people get sucked underground to get...
It's a bacon movie.
You deal with he's been in 2 great horror movies.
Hollow Man.
Yeah.
That's a horror movie.
How is that any more horrific than this?
Because he's invisible and he's trying to have sex.
And then in this one, there are literal snake monsters sucking people underground.
Noob, doesn't that describe your entire life? Just somebody who's invisible and just trying to have sex?
Oh, pretty much. That's why I resonate with Hollow Man.
Wow.
All the time.
I do have a lot of worms.
Tremors was slated to be a horror movie in the very beginning with some comedy thrown into it, which was a new thing at the time, which is why they didn't know how to advertise this movie. They didn't know how to build the trailer. They didn't know how to build the hype. So when this movie was released in theaters back in the day, it actually was a complete flop. They thought it was a disaster. However, this movie came out along the times of the creation of the videotape rental system. Yes, the beginnings of Blockbuster, VHS. And how surprised were they when the VHS copies of Tremors were flying off of the shelves? This became a cult classic almost overnight. People loved it. They got attached to it. All of a sudden, Tremors was this huge thing. Kevin Bacon, who said that his career was completely in the dumps before this, all of a sudden his resurgence came around and Kevin Bacon became a household name.
It did for Kevin Bacon what Pulp Fiction did for John Travolta.
First off, wasn't Kevin Bacon in Footloose?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
And he got super famous off of Footloose.
Yeah, but just like John Travolta was famous for a dancing movie, Kevin Bacon also famous for a dancing movie, but didn't really his career kind of stalled out. He even said that he was shut when he was offered this movie. He's like, as my star power fallen so far that I'm being offered a movie where I might get eaten by a freaking sand snake thing, like
by a ground worm.
Yeah, he was just he says it in the documentary that his career had really stalled out. And there's a bunch of, interesting stories about it. The reason, though, that this was like one of the first horror movies that I could remember that I was like old enough to watch and not get in trouble for. You know what I mean? Like there was nothing in it so bad. Like there might have been like one or two curses.
Yeah.
The violence wasn't that bad. Like I wasn't going to get in trouble watching this as a kid.
The most violent thing was Mr. Miyagi getting eaten by the worm out of the shop.
Wait, they had Asians in here? They had Asian egg rolls getting eaten?
They had Mr. Miyagi, the original Karate Kid.
Oh my God. No, he was not the Karate Kid.
Oh, wasn't?
No.
I thought
it's the guy from Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, yeah, it was that guy.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if there was Asians being eaten underground by giant monsters, where's the Meg in this? Like, I don't understand.
The Meg just was not really part of it. This is pre-Meg.
He's an idiot.
Doesn't rule everything.
The Meg likes her chicky nuggies.
Victor Wong played Walter Chang in this. He was great.
Yes.
He was this the shop owner. So I think there's a lot of really fascinating aspects about the movie, and I don't want to break down the whole thing, but maybe there's some parts that you'll feel the same with about it. Scott.
It's absolutely. It's definitely cool. Check out the documentary on YouTube. It's only half an hour long. It's a real easy watch. It's well done. Actually, I'm surprised that it's just on YouTube. I figured it would be somewhere else available. But it talks to the producers. It talks to the makeup artists, the special effects artists. It talks to Kevin Bacon. It talks to Burt Gumner. Michael Gross, of course. But it talks about the creation of the movie. For a lot of these guys, for the cinematographer especially, he said this was the hardest movie I've ever had to make. But that's because it was super low budget, out in the desert, hard, long days, a lot of struggles going on. But it's also has a place in the hearts of all the people that suffered through this film because it was such a good, fun shoot for them. And so much came out of it that was unexpected, from the resurgence of it to the fandom of it to, these people were in a movie that was a flop, and then only a few short years later, we're going to creature conventions where lines were out and around the block for them. So the impact this movie had was incredible.
Yeah, well, technically it had a $10 million budget, and it made $16 million, but that was 4 times less than it was projected to make. And like you said, it was really saved by Blockbuster. They talk about how it just was selling out and people didn't really understand what was going on and the whole Blockbuster movement where you could just go in. I think it had a great cover too. That covers like reminiscent of Jaws, yet not Jaws.
It really was. I mean?
And so it's Sand Jaws.
Exactly. It's Sand Jaws.
It's Sand Jaws. And the other funny thing about it, because this was the cover in the movie poster, but that's not what the Tremors looked like in the end. They did not actually have teeth like that.
Well, the Graboid, the tendrils did.
The Graboids had little teeth, but it was just like a couple little fangs. It definitely was not teeth. It wasn't a set of shark's teeth like you see there. It was a very different setup that they had.
No, I think are you forgetting that they had tendrils that had mouths too?
Yes,
they
yes.
had mouths.
They had the tendrils, and the tendrils had mouths, but the tendrils only had 2 little kind of fang thingies. It wasn't a full set of teeth.
Yeah, it did. You should watch the movie again.
Oh man, I can't
watch it when they remember the. So the movie opens like it's a mystery, so you're not really supposed to know what was going on. You got to remember when people didn't really have an idea, and I think it's cool how it all goes through. How like people start disappearing, and the 2 leads, Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, are they're repairmen who want to get out of town, but they can't because they got one last job they have to finish up because they need to make money. You know what's beautiful about this movie It's a bromance without the romance.
And that was another selling point they had, was the bromance between Fred Ward and Kevin Bacon was absolutely something that people loved about this movie. It was how people actually were. It was just down to earth, and they're joking back and forth, and their personalities and the way they talked. It wasn't this weird scripted thing. It felt like more natural, a friendship that everyone goes for.
So like they really pumping shit together. Like they were really cleaning up people's septic tanks.
Yeah.
They never once try to go for a quick grab of each other's penis.
No. See, they can actually handle being friends with other men and not being sexually attracted to them. Unlike
I cannot. And any man I'm friends with, I want to have sex with.
And they did not feel the need to make jokes about being gay
except
every
for Scott.
5 minutes.
Nothing.
Whenever we go live, because that's
the
only thing that you're good for.
The one thing that can make me straight is Scott shirtless. I'll be honest, that is just too much man.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Why are we talking about Tremors? This is dumb.
It is a great. Robert actually reviewed it.
Why?
Nope.
Why would you say that?
Should we disconnect him because he's?
I do think we could actually disconnect him. Noob, let me ask you something. You're out walking through the desert, and all of a sudden a worm comes up and eats you, and
my asshole
out of the ground.
It does. Yes.
Do you not find that frightening? Do you not find that scary?
I'm not going to the desert. That's just too much work. B, where is the closest desert to the Pennsylvania area? I'm not quite sure, to be honest. I'm not a geographical expert.
You live in a food desert because you live in the poor part of town.
I do live in the poor part of town.
They call that a money desert.
I call that the needle desert because I can just walk out and there's heroin needles everywhere. But I do not find any sandworms ready to nom on my penis.
Right.
And that's where we go once again.
All right, nom on sausage.
It was a great movie when it was one of those movies that I think impacted me as a kid. Where I was like I said, it's the first movie I could see where I wasn't going to get in trouble.
Course,
I didn't have to close my eyes. I wasn't going to get yelled at.
And you do look there, Z. There's the Graboid, and there's the Graboid's mouth. Yes, there are little nubby teeth in there, but not what that movie poster was.
Okay, I think that's a fair assessment. There are teeth, though.
That movie poster was straight up Jaws. The little nubby teeth in the sandworm tongue is not near what that movie poster was.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just think the creature design was so cool. This is right before special effects really started to take. I mean, Jurassic Park was released 2 years later, I think, maybe 3.
Yeah, this was along the lines of one of the early on special effects, practical effects, where they made these big rubber suits that somebody had to actually get into, and they would bury people. They would bury people alive out in the desert in these suits to film these scenes. And the desert, it was 110 degrees. The first day they went out there, and the documentary is fantastic, gives you a lot of information. The first day they go out there, it's snowing, and they somehow still save that day. And then the next day, it's 110 degrees out there because, of course, it is desert. And here they are burying people in the sand in big rubber suits. It just shows you what people are able to go through to make a project great, and how much people are willing to do when they're dedicated to something. And it's just and they're able to come up with something fantastic, something that absolutely stands the test of time.
Oh yeah, that's the other good thing about it, is because it's all practical effects. It definitely holds up. I think there's one cut in the movie where they're fighting in Bert's basement, and they do practical effects because they use the miniature. But you could tell that they're green screened. And if they had just not used that one green screen effect, I think the movie would have been almost perfect. Like I said, it got reviewed very well. Roger Ebert gave it a 3.5 out of 4. He thought it was a great throwback to the 40s and 50s creature.
Roger Ebert is a bitch.
He's one of the OG movie reviewers.
Isn't he dead?
Yes, he's been dead for 20 years.
I wonder why.
What's that?
Probably because he reviewed this too much.
No, this is how is this movie?
I've never seen it.
Okay, well, that's the point, is that you're an idiot.
And herein lies the problem, is we've been talking about doing this show tonight for the better part of a week. And how hard would it have been for you to take an hour out of
You need to
your
watch the CW.
super busy life and turn off the effing CW because the quality over there is absolute crap and watch the movie that you knew we'd be talking about?
Listen, Batwoman reruns are on point right now. Like, you're not going to get much more lesbian Kane or whatever her name is. What is this even on Netflix? Is Tremor 1 on Netflix?
I do not know where you can watch Tremors right now.
So then, what you're telling me to watch this movie? So where am I going to watch it, Scott?
Amazon Prime.
You have Amazon Prime there,
Don't you
Chief.
know-
I
Amazon
do
Prime.
not. My father has locked me out of my own Amazon. He has hijacked it, ordering a whole lot of condoms. God knows for what. So I don't have
Apparently,
access.
the entire Tremors franchise, well, that's as of January 2020, was streaming on Netflix. I know it's on Prime. I think it's on. Are you sure it's not on Netflix?
They are all on Prime. They were all on Netflix. I was going through the marathon. I was making the girlfriend to go through the marathon, much to her chagrin.
She only needed to watch.
She only needed to watch the first one because we continued on to the second and third one, and she fell asleep immediately afterwards.
Let's go spoiler alert here. Why is Bacon not in the second one?
Because they're not good. Like, this is here's one of the things that I find fascinating about this franchise is it has one really good movie. The second one isn't like the worst movie in the world, but I think not that good.
The second one is still palatable. It wasn't horrible. It was Fred Ward came back. He definitely did help with the movie, and the female lead in the second one was also good. They were able to still save it making a movie. After that, once they got into like 3 and 4 and 5, when it was just the Burt Gummer stories,
CGI schlock.
Yeah, it definitely got off the rails with that one.
And my issue is that I feel like in some way Tremors ushered in the era of really crappy Sci-Fi Channel movies that are just like horrific, and like you blend two animals together and you get, a mega gargantuan snake dial.
This was
I made a snake dial, but
I mean, Tremors did start the pattern for a lot of these horror movies afterwards. When it came to the practical effects, the style, the characters, it did seem to be like the new thing, and it did start a new generation of horror movies. And I think it was the origins of sci-fi, if you think about it, because everything on sci-fi has the same ingredients as Tremors once did.
Yeah, I think when you get a movie like Tremors, which is like it just kind of magically came together, all the acting was fantastic. You really got it was really well written because there's character arcs in it. The characters, you feel for them. They all live in this tiny town, and there's not too many people as to make it too crazy. And there are literally towns like that. I've been to some of them, like Rachel, Nevada, and other places where there are just.
They do exist, but this town that they have in the first movie did not exist, and it doesn't exist anymore. Unfortunately, they built that town
from scratch. Yeah,
the guy,
another cool thing.
Yeah, set designer literally was driving down the road, saw a shack, bought it for $25, had it disassembled, and then moved over to the set to this town that they built just for this movie.
Yeah, I think that's the part of the unique charm of the original, where you get these awesome practical effects, amazing staged, they built this amazing set. All of it seems really authentic, really lived in. And then you slide over to this just CGI schlock fest where you go, we could talk about Shrieker Island. I mean, dude, I watched the thing and I don't remember anything about it. I just was like, what is this?
Shrieker Island. And this is
characters.
This is one where I wish Noob had watched this one. This one is definitely a shit show. The characters all of them are over the top. They knew what they were making, but they put all in, and they should have backed off even just a little tiny bit. The villains are so over the top, it's laughable. The level of insanity this guy hits for no reason whatsoever is completely insane. John Hader, his character goes through these arcs through the entire movie that make no sense whatsoever. There's moments with other characters that aren't needed at all. They somehow outrun an explosion point blank. Like he throws a chunk of dynamite 10 feet away from him in a basement, and somehow they all are now outside outrunning this explosion that was happening while they were running just up the stairs. The physics are absolutely horrible.
Well, it's as if no one. It's just weird because it's as if no one ever watched the original movie. Like, what happened? Like the second one at least had the feel like they were like, okay, we'll do what the typical sequel does, which is we'll remake the original, but we'll make it different or bigger.
And they
chose to go a little bit different, so they changed the life cycle of the creature
into the Shriekers, because now you make sense. The Graboids are now losing, so they have to evolve, and forced evolution creates the Shriekers. But once you get to Shrieker Island, where you now have insane billionaires who are genetically modifying these things to make hunting islands, which makes no sense, which for some reason the island is just supposed to stop them from going somewhere else, which is something else they don't ever explain. How are
they digging through a volcanic island, by the way? You know what I mean? It's one thing to dig through sand, but there's another to dig through, a hard volcanic island.
It's the Shrieker Island is definitely, it's not even like check your brain at the door. There's no brain cells involved in the creation of Shrieker Island. And I don't know.
And it looked filmed really like, it looks like a sci-fi film.
It does. It looks like it was very hurriedly put together, a very small crew, many no-name actors, and other ones who...
They crewed a lot of locals, right? I saw there's a lot of locals there.
A lot of locals, a lot of over-the-top actors. People that when you see in movies, you know they're over the top because they're going to create these characters that make no sense whatsoever with these emotions that happen for no reason whatsoever. It was one of those movies that just was completely over the top and didn't even need to be.
It's weird, too, because part of what was interesting with the first one is there's unique kills in it too. I think that's one thing that's paramount to having a good horror movie, whether it be a slasher. I mean, that's why people watch either Final Destination or they watch the stupid Halloween sequels, because they want to see new inventive kills, right? So the original Tremors followed that. There's an older couple who's retired and their car gets buried. Well, I think the husband gets eaten first, and then the wife hides herself in a car, and they suck the car down where she, I guess, eventually suffocates. There's a guy who dies of dehydration because he's hiding up on top of an electrical.
He went to escape up off a transmission tower, and then later when Bert and I forget Kevin Bacon's character's name. No, Kevin Bacon's name.
Valentine.
When
Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, yes, Burt Reynolds. When Valentine and Bert discover that car with the headlight coming up, that's where you get that horror movie feel, where it's like, oh wait, this is a horror movie. It was very near jump scare in this movie that didn't have a whole lot of them, and that's where you got that horror movie feel from.
Well, it's where, and you think about like, oh, those are terrible ways to die. Like I don't think I'd want to die buried, 6 feet underground in my car, not able to get out.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe they did eat her once it was buried.
Either way,
isn't it all different versions of being eaten by sandworms?
Isn't get different ways of being stabbed by Jason or stabbed by
but
Michael
a guy
Myers?
With a knife is more realistic than a sandworm.
How? An invincible boogeyman is more realistic?
He's not invincible. You can decapitate him.
Who? Which one?
Michael Myers.
And then he just comes back.
No, he's never been decapitated.
Slowly.
And yet he kept coming back. He had a mythical aspect to him as well that made him almost like indestructible.
Oh, he basically is indestructible, but if you decapitate him, he would die. He just never was decapitated.
You don't know that.
Because no
Maybe
one
they'll
ever
do it in the
decapitated
new one. Yeah, they only blew his head off with a shotgun.
The new teaser came out today, actually. I have to watch that. Halloween Kills.
Of a movie that may never be released.
Oh, it'll be released. It's already made.
It'll be released just to you on your
Who
home.
cares? It looks fantastic. 30 seconds of pumpkin fucking. Love it.
Because the first one was so fantastic.
Yeah, it was a reboot / remake. It was amazing. They changed so
They
little that
ignored
it was
all-
brilliant.
They just ignored all the other movies and acted as if it was a direct sequel to the first movie, which I'm
was.
surprised they haven't done with Tremors.
Yeah, they should do that. I would watch that if they bring back Bacon as like 40 years older. That would be good. I would watch that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that if Fred Ward has bad blood with them, but he apparently, I don't know. He doesn't seem to go to any of the cons or anything. Michael Gross seems like he's going to be, spoiler, done with the franchise. I guess it's.
You didn't spoil it there, but they did make it in a way that you don't think he's going to make a comeback. But I mean, they did say, why did they choose to do it that way? Well, I mean, the guy is what, like 87 now. the guy is up there.
He is up there. He may have retired completely from acting.
The guy's up there in age. You can't blame the guy for wanting to hang it up.
Michael Caine's pretty old, and Christopher Nolan just keeps bringing him back in for every fucking movie he does.
Well,
he's also not playing the main character and trying to run around. That was also the very laughable part about this last movie about Shriekers was whenever Bert was trying to like run or do anything like kind of physical, it was just a little out of control. There's a scene where they go down the cave and try to fight these things with machetes.
Machetes.
It's machetes and a flamethrower, and
I forgot that part.
it's worth forgetting. It's bad. They tried to do like the shock gory kills, and none of that worked either. It was the last one, which if they're gonna end it, they could have ended it better. That's a disappointment. But the last one, the Shrieker Island, was definitely a disappointment.
Did you know that the writing team that wrote Tremors actually also wrote Short Circuit, Batteries Not Included, Short Circuit 2, Ghost Dad,
electrical stuff.
a lot of electrical stuff, Wild Wild West. They helped write that. Can you believe that? It's the same people.
Wild Wild West with Will Smith.
Yes. The 1999 Barry Sonnenfeld movie, yes.
All right, then.
Isn't that exciting?
Will Smith should be in Tremors 8.
Will Smith should be in Tremors.
Or Jaden Smith should be the Tremor. He should be the Sandworm.
He should just be the Sandworm. I would be down with that. I would like to see that.
Jaden Smith just bursts out of the sand, starts eating people.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could have this entire franchise of comedy coming gold that like could be Tremors related, but yeah, it's time to hang up the Tremors franchise.
I think so. I think it's kind of devolved into just too much of the, like I said, too much CGI. Like one of the coolest effects. I think it's even one of the coolest practical effects in all of movies. Is the worms like burrowing through the sand in a quick pace, and you see like the dirt mound like moving,
which
that was all practical.
And they even said that like that's something that you'll never see anymore. Is digging a trench through the desert and dragging a barrel basically underneath all these boards to create that effect. They even said that, like, you don't see that anymore. They would absolutely do that CGI. They wouldn't spend the time to make that practical, but the practical aspect
would look better CGI.
No way.
And it's too much. Here's what it really boils down to: is that much like everything in Noob Noob's life, it's too much work. They'd actually have to dig a ditch, and he would be like, "Why would I do that when I can just have a computer do it?"
What is this weird tool? It's called a shovel. Learn to use it.
What? I don't know. My dad wants a wheelbarrow for Christmas. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
You don't know what a wheelbarrow is?
I do not. No, I know that is a sex move.
Can you pronounce it?
Wheelbarrow.
Can you spell it?
WEEEL BAROWL.
Barrel.
That's a
wheelbarrow.
That's a wheelbarrow.
Do you think that it's a barrel with wheels on it?
I believe it is a unisex wheel.
What?
Keep reaching. Go ahead. Keep going. You're on a roll now. You might as well. You committed. Go for it.
I believe it is a unisex wheel, very big in the rubber, black casing around it to hold the tools and such, and certain working individuals are good at pushing it.
What kind of individuals?
I'm not gonna go to that one, but they know who they are, and
Oh, okay. The workers know who they are. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, how much is a wheelbarrow? Like, can I buy that on Amazon for a discount? Like, I don't know how to. Do you have to assemble it?
You probably can't get it delivered to your house.
Yes, and
You can't.
and you would have to assemble it, which would just make it beautiful. Because you never think that a wheelbarrow would work with the wheel on top, but somehow I think you would try.
I don't,
How many
do you need a
wheels?
screwdriver?
Does a
It's one wheel.
wheelbarrow have? Are you sure about that?
One. It's a unisex wheel. I know that much. It's like a unicycle.
Not really. The ones I have don't have just one wheel on them.
Are you sure? Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, they do.
How many wheels?
2. I just blew.
Where's the second one?
I just
Where's
blew
the
your
second wheel?
mind, didn't I?
Where's the second wheel?
On the front.
That's the first wheel. Where's it? What do you mean? Okay, where's the other wheel?
Next to the other one.
So it's 2. That's one big wheel.
Yes, it's the other wheels on top of the first wheel. I'd hit to balance them.
That doesn't make any sense. What?
This coming from the man who has a picture of a bicycle behind him.
Yes, that's a. Well, there's 2 wheels on a bicycle. I don't know how to ride one, but still.
What's the other machine?
What is this contraption on the wall behind you?
That is for sewing.
Noob, is that even your house?
It's not my house. No.
You don't even know. Like, what is that on their wall behind you? What is?
You just stole a house.
Here, hold on. Do you want me to say I broke into a Mexican's house and they're passed out right now because I roofied them? Do you want to see?
I don't. You can show us
All
whatever
right,
you want to show us.
All right, let's see here. Let's bring this.
This
camera
is
around.
going real.
I know. This is about to.
Can I bring the
camera
camera around? I don't know if I can bring the camera around. I don't know.
I
Yes, I can.
Stop you?
Yes, I can. All right, we're gonna
stop you from doing
Are we getting a tour of Noob's house right now? Why is there no lights? Did you not pay your electrical bill?
He only paid for the one room and the TV. I have no idea what we're looking. We're looking
No,
at.
we have no clue. We're looking at it's a completely dark screen. No idea what's going on.
What is going on here?
What is this?
We're on a tour. What happened? We didn't see anything.
We couldn't see anything. There was no lights.
Those are all lies. Whatever you just showed us was a lie.
And now there's just screaming going on.
Yes.
What is happening?
Cake is a lie. Anyway, I recommend Tremors.
Absolutely.
And everyone, it's a cult classic. Oh, did you see? This might interest Noob. They had a Tremors sock at the very end. They were showing people of the documentary.
Oh yes, that would definitely interest Noob, especially handmade.
It wouldn't fit, but
no, it would be much too large. There'd be a lot of space left in there for Noob.
He could put it on his fingers, though.
Yes.
It was a Tremor cock sock.
Yeah, it was a hand knit Tremor cock sock. It was a Graboid cock sock.
Are we done?
You don't care about cock socks?
I don't. I care about cock puppets.
That's
What's
what
the
a
difference?
cock sock is.
Is this another
Is it?
thing he doesn't know what it is?
I don't know what a cock sock is.
And I'd bring it up, but my laptop died. So, and for some reason, I can't get the charger to work while I'm sitting here. So
Don't watch
that's the end of that.
Shrieker Island. Forget that one.
Go on YouTube and check out the documentary. That's a good watch. And if you haven't seen the first Tremors, find it, watch it. It's definitely a classic.
You can make sweet, sweet love to Tremors because it's the sweetest of all horror movies.
Sweetest.
Yes. So anyway, you know where to find us. You've been watching this. You can find us. We have a link that gives us links to all our other things that we do.
Go over to
YouTube. Do you have that on YouTube?
Yes, that is on the YouTube. But go over to ourreviewswillkillyou.com/links. Check out all the fun and easy ways to find us. And be sure to join us tomorrow during our regular Friday Night Live episode. We're doing a Halloween special. We're talking horror movies, but we're not talking the ones that are recent or that Forbes is writing about. No, we're talking about the true horror movies, the ones that really scare you and really make things go pop in the night.
The ones that impacted you as a child probably impacted us. Nothing impacted Noob, so ignore him. We're not even sure he's going to be allowed to talk. We might just not even have him.
In fact, if he continues on the same path he is, I'm going to make sure I find a way to impact him.
I doubt he can even name 5 horror movies that he likes that aren't Halloween. We'll save that one for tomorrow. Okay. Anyway,
yes, and that's a teaser for tomorrow. What horror movies does Noob like for something other than just reasons?
And that isn't Halloween, specifically not Halloween.
Okay, I got an answer for you right now.
No, he doesn't have 5.
You can't. Not until tomorrow.
Not until tomorrow. Anyway, give us like. The way we grow this channel is by you sharing us. I believe we've been shadow banned in all countries. So good luck finding us.
Especially in Greece with Tom Hanks.
Yes, we've been shadow banned thanks to Noob and his crack reporting. Anyway,
I've aged out for Tom Hanks.
From all of us here at Our Reviews Will Kill You to all of y'all at home, we love y'all, and on to the next one.
You've had greatest of fears.